Our channel is packed with reviews of some of the most technologically advanced and glamorous boats on the water. But what we haven't really delved into is exactly how these boats are built. So we're here in the English Midlands, about as far away from the sea as you could be in this country, at Fairline Yachts, to see exactly what goes in to building these things. So this is Miles Morehouse. He's the head of marketing here at Fairline, has been so for 14 years, and he's going to show us around the facility. But first of all, Miles, if you just explain exactly which models are built here at this facility.
So Oundle here, the home of Fairline, we build everything in our range from our 33-foot F-line right up to our flagship Squadron 68. And we do that in 3 factory units, and I'm happy to show you all 3 today.
Great, let's go and have a look.
Great.
So we're inside one of the 3 production facilities now. Miles, which models are being built in here and what's going on this hull behind us?
So in here we're building our 50-foot range, but also our F-line 33 on the other side of the factory. From the hull that you see behind us, this 50-foot hull, we're building 3 different models. We're building the Targa GT, the Targa Open, and also the Flybridge model, the Squadron 50, but all from the same basic platform here.
And at this stage, the hull, what's happening here? What are the guys doing?
Right, it's quite a good stage to actually be looking to see what we're doing. If you think back to your childhood, you're in your mum's kitchen and she's baking a cake, okay? She takes the cake tin and she puts butter all over the inside of the cake tin. This is exactly what we've done with this mold here.
Right.
We've cleaned it, we've thoroughly cleaned it, got all the dust and imperfections out of it. We've then put wax right across every surface. Effectively, that's the lubricant. We've then put 2 layers of gel coat in. Now that can be white, it can be blue, it can be anthracite, it can be off-white. Predominantly we use white. We'll put 2 layers by hand, by brush, of gel coat right through the hull. And then as that goes tacky, we'll start laying up the fiberglass. And the fiberglass has got various different courses to it. This is a piece of fiberglass. You can see how it's made of glass strands. And then we've got an adhesive-backed fiberglass here as well. And effectively that's being laid up right through the mold. And then, I'm not sure if the camera can pick it up, but we're now starting to put these stringers in.
Yeah.
The stringers are the longitudinal and latitudinal pieces that give the rigidity to that hull form.
Yeah.
And again, the matting is going over all of those, so they're going to be bonded into place.
And they're made of foam.
They're made of foam in this instance, yeah. And then the next stage of the process, Jack, which looking at this will probably happen, if not tomorrow, then the day after, is we're going to resin infuse the hull. And at Fairline, we're resin infusing all of our big molds, the hull being a prime example.
Yeah.
Effectively, we're putting a plastic bag over the entire piece, sucking the air out of it.
Yeah.
And then placing in specific areas across the hull, placing tubes, which will then pump in a fixed amount of resin, which will cover the entire amount of glass matting.
Yeah.
Once that goes off, we're able to then use the crane to pop the hull out of the mold. Effectively, that's your mum turning the cake tin upside down and patting the bottom of it. Yeah.
And the benefit of that, because previously that process would all have been done by hand, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it's quite inaccurate. You get a lot of maybe a lot of wastage possibly, whereas this is very accurate and also leads to a lighter finished product.
With any boat, weight is your enemy. So you're designing the product to be as light as you can possibly make it, given the componentry that's going to go into it. If you can control the volume of heavy resin, because it is quite a heavy substance, if you can control that volume that's going in, then it's going to make for an overall lighter weight boat. And it gives you consistency as well. So every hull is coming out exactly the same.
Yeah, okay. Great, so that's the hull moulding. Let's move on to the next bit. So there are 4 parts of the jigsaw when Fairline build a boat. There's the hull, there's the deck, and there's the superstructure, and then you've got a liner, which is what's behind us here. So maybe you just explain exactly what the liner is and why Fairline use one, because not every manufacturer will use a liner in the way they construct a boat.
Okay, so 2 ways to make a boat. You can take the hull once it comes out of the mold. You can lay a flat wooden floor into it, and you can build off that to whatever the accommodation is within the boat. The other way of doing it is to have a liner. which is a structural part of the boat. And the reason we use a liner is because of the rigidity that it gives our hulls. You've tested many Fairlines over the years, and you know you're not unique in your commentary. The commentary is always what a great soft riding, great sea keeping boat a Fairline is, and that's due in no small part to this liner. The liner does, however, limit what you can build in the interior of your boat, because at that initial design phase, you're clearly defining where the bulkheads are going to go, where the rooms are going to go, where the bathrooms are going to go. And once you've made that mold tool, you're fixed to that configuration.
Yeah.
So it limits you on the one hand in terms of your ability to customize. However, we believe that's more than offset by the benefit, which is really in our DNA, of great seakeeping, soft riding, not creaking and rattling, great structural rigidity, and that's why we use this internal liner component.
And every model from the F-33 up to the Squadron 68, it's all exactly the same. They've all got a liner that sits inside the hull.
Yeah.
So this is flipped over and just slots down.
It slots down, we bond it in, so it becomes part of the hull structure, if you like. All of the furniture goes in, and eventually we'll put the deck on with the superstructure, and off it goes.
Okay, let's go and have a look. Just before we carry on with the Targa and Squadron 50 line, we're here on the F-33 line now, and this one's at an interesting point because they're just affixing the teak to the deck. Lots of people wonder how that's actually done. There's no physical fixings at all. It's bonded on using a vacuum process, and you can just see there, you see the red plastic, and then you've got the fixing points, and you can see then that's how the vacuum works and clamps the teak down onto the deck. So here we are, next stage of the production line, and we have a load of 50 hulls all in various states of build. So Miles, you just explain exactly what's going on in this section of the facility.
Okay, so we've finished the moulding. We've done all of those big moulds, and they've all come through the hole in the wall, and they've all laid into this footprint here. So that our 4 key components, effectively, that we've already spoken about. What's now going on is that all of the engineering work, so let me give you an example. You're building an extension on your house. The bricklayer comes in and does the foundations and the brickwork, and the roofer comes in and does the roof. So you've now got a watertight box. Next in is your plumber and your electrician, who are both going to come in and they're going to lay cables and pipes, but they're not actually going to plug them into anything, okay? That's called first fix.
Yeah.
Effectively, in this footprint, this is first fix, if you think of it in those terms. Once first fix is complete, we then move the internal liner into the hull. Bond it, done.
Yeah.
Next, the superstructure joins to the deck, so that's now one component. And then once the engines have gone in here, you see all the tanks are in, needs a generator to go in there. A lot of the furniture's already in, the bulkheads are in. So all of that work that is great when you've got access, once that's all complete, then that superstructure and deck component is going to come on top. Again, we're going to bond it and bolt it.
Yeah.
So we've now got something resembling a boat.
Yeah.
But we've now got restricted access. So we go to the next footprint, which is effectively finishing, where we're putting in the light fittings, the light switches, the power points, and all of that sort of stuff. So eventually we're throwing the cushions on, putting the carpet down, and the boat rolls out the door to go down to Ipswich. So that's what effectively is going on behind us here.
Okay, well we'll look at a couple of the boats that are almost ready to go, but before that maybe let's have a look at the furniture shop where you build all this wonderful woodwork.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
So anyone who follows Fairline will know about their reputation for the quality and craftsmanship of the woodwork, and this is where the magic happens here in the woodshop, but there is a stage before this, isn't there, the CNC cell, where it's actually templated and then brought up here to be put together.
Yes, so as you'll see through the course of this film, we're not a very automated manufacturer. There are no robots doing tasks here, it's all handmade. The exception really is where we're CNCing woodwork. So it comes in flat pieces of wood, it goes into a CNC machine and gets cut. So the repeatable pieces are being cut mechanically. However, all those constituent parts will then come up into a facility like this. We've got facilities in each of the 3 factories where the bench carpentry guys, which is what we're looking at now, will start putting those pieces together. Another thing about point of difference, if you like, about Fairline is you won't see a storage rack with 15 cupboards on it, wardrobes on it, and the guys in production take the first one and fit it up. That's not how it works around here. Every piece of cabinetry that's being made here is being made for a specific boat.
Right.
So that enables us to take that piece of finished cabinetry down to the hull, put it in position, make sure that it's a perfect fit, and if it's not, we bring it back and we scribe where necessary to make sure it is a perfect fit.
Okay.
So even though as a consumer, as a boat owner, you'll rarely get the opportunity to see that,
Yeah.
we feel it's important in terms of quality of product. So we're not having an almost fits component filled up with a load of silicone, you know, it fits perfectly.
Every
even when
piece
you
of
don't see it.
woodwork is assigned to a particular boat.
Every boat has got a number allocated to it, and every cabinet, every drawer front, every cupboard door, every door is being made for that boat number, specific.
And we've got something here on the bench, haven't we?
So here we've got a
work
unit.
out exactly what that is. Ooh. TV unit, is it?
This is a TV unit.
Yeah.
This will be for a 50-foot boat. Again, it could. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a GT or a Squadron.
Yeah.
But it's a pop-up TV unit that's going to go in the upper saloon.
Okay.
This is something that you will never see. This piece here, and this is where the screw heads are, because on the inside you've got no visible screw heads at all. It's a small detail, but it's one that Fairline thinks about and designs in. So when you open a cupboard door, you're just seeing the inside of a cupboard door, not screw heads with caps.
Okay, very good. And so from here, this piece, when it's completed, goes back into where we were before, onto the boat.
Correct.
Checks it all fits okay. If so, that's great. If not, comes back for some tweaks.
Some tweaks, yeah, and then goes back, and it's then permanently fixed.
Okay. Well, that's not the last piece of the woodworking, because we've got painting, varnishing just around the corner, haven't we?
Yeah, let's go and have a look at that.
Yeah. So why don't you talk us through exactly what's going on in this section, Miles?
Okay, so we're in one of our lacquer shops at the moment. We've got 3 of these in operation, 1 in each factory unit. And what we're doing is we're taking the material that has been manufactured, so it's been cut primarily on the CNC machine, it's been built, and now we're looking at what goes on the front, so the bit that you do see. So behind me here is a table for a saloon. It'll be for a 45 GT. The guy is currently staining that, so we offer different wood types and colours.
Yeah.
One of our most popular is our gloss walnut, which is a very high shine, very deep lacquer. It's a very dark walnut colour. And what we're doing is putting that dark walnut colour onto the base wood.
Okay.
So firstly, staining it. We'll then prep it for lacquer, and then it will go through a series of being lacquered and then hand sanded back or machine sanded back. But you'll notice there's no sort of production line here. It's all done by hand.
Yeah.
Until we get that real high gloss, high lacquer finish that we're looking for. So that's what's going on in here. I did just want to show you this particular piece, because I think this typifies what Fairline does. So this piece is for boat number 531.
A GT45.
GT45, and it's the mid-cabin locker. So when you go into the mid-cabin on one of those boats, above the hanging locker, there's a vent for the air conditioning. It's got a series of slats in it. This is one of those slats. And this piece is hand cut. You can see the detail to get the L piece in it.
Yeah.
Little dowel drilled into it. And then this piece is going to go through exactly the same process as this tabletop here.
Right.
So it's going to get stained down to dark walnut, and then it's going to get lacquered all the way through. And that's kind of the level of detail that demonstrates that Fairline goes
on a
into,
piece
really.
where you only see this bit and probably the bottom edge.
That's the thing, when you're looking up at it, you do only see the front and the bottom edge, but it'll be done all 4 sides.
Cool. Amazing. Well, that's the wood shop. Let's go and see the final part of that production line for the 50 range. So we're at the end of the 50 production line now. What's happening on this boat, Miles?
So this one is now just days away from leaving the factory and going over to Ipswich for commissioning, PDI and final quality control. So you can see behind us, final bits of repair work are going on. So putting remedy to any nicks, scratches that have happened during the production process. You'll notice there's a number of yellow stickers all around the boat. That's because our quality control team have now been through the boat from back to front. looking at every millimetre,
Okay.
of every part of the boat. And where they see an imperfection,
Yeah.
they mark it with a note
Yeah.
on the yellow sticker.
So this one says swirled polish all over. So that's a polishing note.
So now the GRP repair
Yeah.
team will come on board, they'll pick up that note, they'll polish that back till all the swirls are gone.
Yeah.
Great example to use. And you'll see these stickers all over the place. So in the next 48 hours, that'll all be remedied.
Right.
The boat will then go in a big plastic bag onto the back of a lorry, off to Ipswich.
And something that surprised me is how early the teak goes on. Because the
Yeah.
teak is on right at the start of the production line, which doesn't seem the sensible way to do it to me, but that's how it works.
Very hard wearing material,
Yeah.
as you know. Just needs a light polish, a light sand,
Yeah.
and it will be back to new, which
Yeah.
it is.
And you saying that you have a tank here on site where you can drop the boats in to run up the systems, run up the engines, check
You mean our private swimming pool?
the private swimming pool? Yeah, yeah.
We've got 2 test tanks here. So midway through manufacture, when the boat is looking like a boat, the windows are in, the roof's on, for example, it'll be carried outside and put into a test tank. The boat will stay in the test tank for at least 24 hours, if not slightly longer. We spray high pressure water at the sides of the boat, specifically at the window lines where they meet the GRP. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find leaks, because it's a damn sight easier to fix a leak when the boat's in build than it is when the headlining's in, the carpet's down, and you start to cause damage with a leak. So we're purposely looking for leaks and testing for that. But it also being in the water means that you can run the generator,
Yeah.
you can run the air conditioning unit, and you make sure that that's all functioning, that all the wiring's correct, that the buttons are all great at the helm, etc., etc.
Yeah. Great. Well, so that's the 50s. Let's go and have a look at the Squadron 68, shall we?
Do that.
So this is the Squadron Targa and soon to be Phantom, new Phantom Sports Bridge shed.
Yes.
We've got 4 squadrons all lined up in various states of finish. This
Yep.
one obviously closest to going.
That's right.
But I think one of the unique things about Fairline is because of where the boats are built, there are some challenges in terms of transport and getting them out to sea and launch, aren't there?
Yeah, we're 100 miles away from the nearest bit of coastline.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a backstory. You know, it's not
Yeah.
by accident. There is a backstory to it, but it does present some issues. Clearly, everything that leaves here has to go by road. Now, we send everything to our test and commissioning facility down in Ipswich on the east coast of England. This particular model, the Squadron 68, it's a 2-day journey with a police escort to get the boat from here to Ipswich. That journey involves guys removing street furniture, so traffic lights out of the ground and laying flat, pedestrian barriers being lifted out of their mountings and laid flat on the pavement to enable the boat to pass by. The other challenge is that when local councils or highways agency refurbish roads, you lose a little bit of height because of the new tarmac that goes on. So whilst we may be able to get under the bridges today, there's always that risk that the tarmac build-up means that that's not possible. Now, fortunately, trailer technology moved on, and they're all on air suspension now. So we've got a good few years ahead of us where we'll be okay, because you just
underneath those bridges.
Just drop the air suspension on the trailer and crawl underneath. So a challenge, but not insurmountable.
And one that Fairline's lived with forever.
Oh, for 50 years.
And that is the main limiting factor in terms of the size of boats you can build at this site is the height more than anything else.
It is exactly the height, Jack. It's, we can build much longer, but when you build longer boats, proportionally they have to be taller. So this boat that we see behind us here, although the flybridge has got its rear glass on and handrail on, if you look forward, it's got its windscreen on, the wet bars are both in there as well. All that will come off.
Right.
All that will come off. So for transport, it will just be the flat floor.
So it's put together now, I guess, to make sure everything is as it should be.
Correct.
And then before transport, it all comes off again.
All comes off, and then we
in.
refit it in Ipswich.
Right, okay. It's quite a process, isn't it?
It is, but once it's refitted in Ipswich, that's it, it's done. The boat will then sail from Ipswich for onward transport.
And the boat leaves here finished. There's no sort of building done at Ipswich apart from putting together what's been taken off for transport.
What we call build-up, post-transport build-up.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully you found that a really fascinating insight into how something like this is put together. But we're not quite finished because, as we've discussed, this goes on a truck and it goes to Ipswich where it's commissioned, tested and eventually handed over to either the owner or a dealer. So tomorrow that's where we're going to go. We'll see you there.
Let's
Start to finish, it takes around 8 weeks to build a Targa or Squadron 50 and more like 6 months for a Targa 65 or a Squadron 68. And after that, as we discussed yesterday, they're put on a truck and they come down here to Ipswich Haven Marina, where Fairline has its Ipswich facility. This is where they do the final testing and commissioning. This is where engineers go over the boats with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that everything is working as it should be. And now we're going to hook back up with Miles and he's going to show us around. So here we are inside the shed. We're flanked by a couple of Squadron 50s, both of which are hives of activity. So could you just explain what's going on inside this shed to these boats, Miles?
Okay, so we're getting ready to dispatch these boats. So they've come from the factory. They'll have been here 2 or 3 weeks. They'll have been out to sea a couple of times for the commissioning process, running up of the systems. They'll have had their final quality control check. And now what's happening is the team are wrapping these boats up ready for onward transport. And onward transport is to the location where the boat's going to go and live.
Yeah.
So these ones, certainly this one here is going to transport by road to its final destination. So the flybridge will be being broken down today as well and come off again, so it can go on the truck. This one is going to go again by truck, but then we'll ship to its final destination.
Okay, and we've got a few more lined up outside as well, so...
There's quite a lot to see today. There's quite a few boats down here, so let's go and see those.
It appears we've come down at quite a good time because we've got almost everything in the range lined up outside the shed here. We've got the Squadron 68 and Targa 65, and we've got an F-33 down there. You mentioned inside that the boats are going through their quality control testing procedure. Could you just elaborate a little bit on what that physically involves?
Yes, sure. So when the boat arrives from the factory here to Ipswich, the guys will build it up. So after transport, they'll put the mast on, the aerials on, etc. If it's a flybridge model, they'll build up that flybridge. We saw all that yesterday in the factory. The boat will then go out on sea trial. And at that point, what the team are learning are the performance parameters of that particular boat. So they will be doing noise testing, speed testing, obviously handling testing. Clearly they'll also be running up all of the systems. Now the objective is not to break the boat. The objective is to give it a thorough test before the customer sets eyes on it. So that happens over a period of 10 days or so. Once that's complete, the boat will come back into the shed for final quality control sign-off. So that's our QC team will descend on the boat. You remember those little yellow stickers that we looked at yesterday? They'll bring their book of yellow stickers down, and they'll go through the boat, and whether it's a nick in the gel repair or a dink in the teak, all that will be corrected, because the objective clearly for us is to deliver a 100% perfect boat. And that's what a client expects. So that's really what the testing, commissioning and QC process is all about here. We also encourage owners to visit us at this location and take handover of their boat. A handover is a real in-depth, detailed day, or on the larger vessels, 2-day visit, where our guys, our team here, who know the boats intimately, will take you through, as a new Fairline owner, take you through every button, every fuse, everything you would ever want to know or need to know about running your boat when it arrives at its home port. And we really encourage people to do that because they get a much better user experience with that knowledge behind them. So one of the other things that we're able to offer down here in Ipswich is post-production work or customization. This particular boat was built for the US market. However, a European client purchased the boat out of New York and is going to use it in Europe. So that requires some conversion work, but the client also wanted to make the boat his own. So this one's having quite a lot of customization done to it as well. So the boat shipped from the US across to here. It's been here for about 3 weeks now, and it's certainly got another 3 or 4 weeks to go, because not only are we having to change all of the white goods because of the voltage, but the client wants to remove one of the bunks from the bunk cabin. He wants to remove one of the single beds from the starboard cabin. He wants a place for his cat to sleep, because he travels with his cat all the time. So this is really going through a process that we call post-production work to give the client his perfect boat by the time he takes delivery of it.
And that's quite involved. Yeah, this is involved work, isn't it?
Well,
and
we
with
just
stuff having to come down from Oundle and all sorts.
Yeah. So we'll, you know, for example, he wants to get rid of this couch and continue this sideboard all the way up to the helm here.
Right.
So this will now become one sideboard with a wine cooler and the pop-up TV behind. That's quite involved. It's not as easy as just ripping the couch out and putting a sideboard there. But clearly, you know, we build these, we build this cabinetry for a living, and therefore it's easy for us to redesign and manufacture that sort of stuff up at Oundle, ship it down here, and have it fitted by our team here. But as you look around the boat, you'll see, you know, the power points, for example, all need to be changed from, you know, US 2-pin to European 2-pin.
Yep.
And that goes throughout.
No, yeah,
Quite involved.
Another string to the Fairline bow.
Yeah, and it's not something that actually that we shout about. You know, the capability that we have here, and I think we should. You know, because we've got the skills, we've got the abilities. We should utilise it and offer it on a wider basis to clients, I think.
So this is a boat in for refit. Now let's go next door and look at a brand new boat that's ready for shipping.
Yeah, let's do that.
So here we are then, the finished product, Squadron 68. This one's off to Thailand and it's almost ready to go, it looks like. And we can really see all of that hard work that's going on in the factory come to fruition here. You can really appreciate the time and love that's gone into the woodwork. And it must be very satisfying at this point when you see it all come together and it looks like this.
It's great. I mean, to see the process from start to finish. Yeah, it's a 6-month build process for one of these.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people involved in that, from the design office to, you know, the guys that are buying the parts that make the boat, to the guys that are physically using their hands and making the boat. So it's great to see the finished product because it always looks stunning, but it's lovely to see it leave as well, because you know that it's going to an owner that's desperate for it, invariably, and it's going to, you know, give many hours, days and years of happy ownership.
And in terms of this boat's final journey, obviously this is going overseas, so how does that happen? You know, what happens to this boat to get it over to Thailand?
Okay, so this one will either ship from one of the ports, either locally, so, you know, Harwich, over in Rotterdam. We ship a lot of boats from Rotterdam, which is just over the North Sea, or round to Southampton. Southampton's a major port for loading boats onward. So it'll basically motor from here with a delivery skipper, and it'll get lifted onto a boat transport ship, and off it goes. 6 weeks later, it'll be in Asia.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Miles, thank you very much for showing us around and giving us the tour. Really appreciate the access. So that's it. That's how it's done. That's what goes into producing a modern motorboat. And I just thought I'd better point out that we have behind us here a Fairline 19, the first model that they ever built, launched back in 1966. This is hull number 123, probably came out in the early 70s. And I think you'll agree they've come quite a long way since then. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and the insight it's hopefully been able to give. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.